My advice is this Fed and Powell, I listen to him, and he's a serious guy, and he's going to be, there's none of this stuff, all these guys are saying, oh, they're going to pivot, and they should pivot, and this and that. And these guys that tell you that a lot of them are telling you that because they put all these people into these companies that are overpriced. There are many good companies now, but many overpriced ones. And I think Powell is very right to do anything he can to stop this inflation that's coming on. You have to get rid of the goddamn problem you got, and that's what we need to do here. And don't fool yourself. There's going to be a lot more headaches, I think, before we get out of this mess we're in, because you can't have the Fed, even if they want to. Over the last 20 or 30 years, the Fed was able to come in and save you and save the market, or they go into this taper tantrum. But they can't do it now, because right now, even if they wanted to, you can't keep printing up money because it's going to just throw gasoline on the flames of inflation.
In this video, legendary billionaire investor Carl Icahn talks about his view of the current inflation and how he thinks the Fed is dealing with it. Watch the video till the end so that you can profit from his ideas.
To begin with, we're trapped with this inflation. Inflation is a terrible thing. It's what brings down hegemonies. And you look at things simplistically. I look at it just very simplistically. That's where, if you can do that and sort of understand the markets that way, you should be successful over a long period of time. And right now, there are real problems because Powell is very right to do anything he can to stop this inflation that's coming on. And the real surprising thing is that you haven't had it before, because for the last years, we've been just printing up money and just giving it out. And one of the major problems is, I think, and nobody's blamed them, but it's corporate America. It's the CEOs, rubber stamp boards, and the money has been very cheap. So they've been able to borrow money very cheaply, but instead of putting it back into production, they've taken that money, borrowed more and more, and bought stocks at very high valuations. And now it's time to pay the price of that. So you'll have more and more debt coming due or interest rates to pay at higher prices. And that is a problem as far as earnings are concerned. And aside from that, household net worth, I would say median household net worth is really non-existent in this country. So half the households have no net worth. And the other half, except for the very top 10%, I think are very concerned about what's happening. And they're looking at their net worth, which is the market and their homes. And you have to be very concerned about that. When I was in college, as a freshman, I didn't know much about the market at all. I was always a little intrigued by it. I went out, I just was thinking back on this, and it really happened. I got into Princeton. And I came from middle-class background from a sort of bad high school. But I made friends with a couple of the wealthier guys, and as a freshman. And one of them invited me to dinner with his father. His father came up to see him. And his father was a big deal on Wall Street, sort of very well thought of, really very respected. And we were sitting there, and he looked at me and said, you have some promise, in business, because I asked him a couple of questions about Wall Street a little bit. And he says, one thing I'm going to give you, one bit of advice. Just remember this. Hey, remember this kid. He was a nice guy. Remember this kid. If you ever get into Wall Street and this business, follow one rule. And I'm not joking. This is what he said. Never fight the Fed. And I've learned that. My advice is this Fed and Powell, I listen to him. And he's a serious guy. And he's going to be, there's none of this stuff, all these guys are saying, oh, they're going to pivot and they should pivot and this and that. And these guys that tell you that a lot of them are telling you that because they put all these people into these companies that are overpriced. There are many good companies now, but many overpriced ones. And I am happy that Powell really means business. And I really think he does, because you must get rid of this inflation. And that's the worst thing an economy can have. And I think he means business. And I really respected him for coming out and saying it. And I hope I'm right. And I think there's going to be Look, I've said it a few times. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, perhaps. But all these people that are telling you he should pivot, you know what it is? It's like telling a drug addict. Let's say your kid's a drug addict and telling him, okay, you took enough, you stopped drinking enough now. Okay, go have a good time again. Well, you can't do that, right? You have to get rid of the goddamn problem you got. And that's what we need to do here. And don't fool yourself. There's going to be a lot more headaches, I think, before we get out of this mess we're in, because you can't have the Fed, even if they want to. Over the last 20 or 30 years, the Fed was able to come in and save you and save the market, or they go into this taper tantrum. But they can't do it now, because right now, even if they wanted to, you can't keep printing up money because it's going to just throw gasoline on the flames of inflation. So I think this is what you got to understand. However, there's some very good companies out there, and and if you're willing to buy them and have the patience, I think you'll look back at 5 years or something, or less than 4 years, and see that they were great buys. But right now, I think they're very far and few between. I think Elon Musk is the perfect one for that company. You don't have to be a genius to realize that he was going to finish that deal. He was up against lawsuits that he wouldn't have won in Delaware, in my opinion, the Chancery Court there. And so we bought a lot of stock in it. Well, I bought stock when it went down we were thinking of it, and then he announced what he was doing. The stock went down, and we loaded up with it. I mean, we bought close to, I can't remember exactly, 15 million shares, which is a fair amount to get when it was in the 30s. And I look at it two ways. I believe that he was going to do the deal. And if he did the deal, that's great. Because I do believe we go to corporate governance now. And one of the major problems in this country, and I keep saying it, not the only problem, because you need discipline as far as inflation goes, and we have that real problem. But one of the major problems is there's no corporate governance. I mean, corporate governance in this country is an oxymoron. Corporate democracy is an oxymoron. And there's an article today about BlackRock talking about it. And I hope my thing, and I know him, really does something, because actually these index funds protect bad CEOs or CEOs that are just there. And you don't have any accountability in corporate America. And in Twitter, I think it's sort of ludicrous. I mean, I'm not going to get into politics or whether or not you should have the right to censor somebody or not, although I think you really shouldn't censor anybody unless there's a real reason for it. But what's ludicrous is that a couple of people at Twitter who are employees of Twitter, they work for the shareholders, decide in their great wisdom who can go on the platform and who can't. And I think those days are over. That's just ludicrous. So I just looked at it and felt that I got a lot of calls about it. And so I said to myself, I'm buying stock here. If for some reason Musk doesn't do it, we'll probably launch a proxy fight. But what happened was Musk came in, and I said to myself, I said to my guys, I mean, he's the perfect guy for this. And I would, obviously have supported anything he did. I think he's, I don't know him, but I think some of the things he says and does, I think, are brilliant. I mean, I'm not in Tesla, but I never owned Tesla because, to me, it's not my kind of stock. It's just too high a multiple. But so we went in and bought all that stock, and, we made a lot of money on it. We're happy about that. There's something inside of me I wish I was looking forward to doing a fight on that one. It's so outrageous. In other words, I'll just repeat again. Why, if you owned a chain of restaurants, if you owned it, Steve, your family gave you a chain of restaurants, and you have a major domo at the restaurant, would you allow him to say, I don't like that guy, he can't come into the restaurant, and I'll let that guy come in? You say, I'm going to fire you. I mean, so that to me, it just was a ludicrous situation. And I'm not deciding here or discussing the political aspects of whether or not you should have censorship. But I do believe that there is freedom of speech, which is extremely important. And there should be some censorship in certain cases, but it shouldn't be up to the employee of the company, whether he's called CEO or whatever he's called, to decide, I don't like that guy's politics, I'm not letting him on. So I was ready to get outraged, to get into it, but what the heck? I'm glad we made all the money we made on it.
Thanks for watching the video till the end. If you are still with us, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when a new video comes out.